What's up, everyone? This is Connor with Guns and Stuff. Thanks for tuning in to another one of our videos. And in front of me, I have my military surplus rifles. The other day, I kind of had a thought to myself. I was like, man, it'd be kind of cool to bring these out to the range and see which one I hit the best with. I have very limited trigger time with all of these rifles due to ammo prices, and some of the ammo is pretty hard to find. But I have ammo for all of them, and I figured I'd bring you guys along for the ride, so I'm going to make a video out of it. How we're going to do it is we're going to take 5 shots from each rifle at 50 yards and then 5 shots from each rifle at 100 yards and see the results and go from there. So I want you guys to keep in mind I am at best an average shooter. I don't claim to be like super precision tactical or whatever, but I'm going to try to hone it in and try to get some good groups with these. Take it with a grain of salt. Like I said, I'm just an average shooter out here, so yeah, let's go ahead and load these up and get some cool footage. We have the 1903A3, 1903 Mark I, MOS 36, Type 99, M1917 Enfield, and an M1 Garand. So we're going to go ahead and start this up like I said. Let's do it. Okay, as for ammo that I'm going to be using for this test, for the 7.5, it's old Privy Partisan 7.5 by 54. This is a 139 grain projectile. And as you can see, this is their old packaging. I'm not sure how old this stuff is, but it works great. So that's the French ammo that I'm going to be using. So for the 7.7 Japanese ammunition that I'm going to be using out of the Type 99, this is Steinel ammunition here. This stuff is made in my home state of Ohio, and they were kind enough to send me out a couple boxes to do this. So huge shout out to you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you. Again, Steinel ammo, I'll put a link in the description. Check out their website, and this is the ammo that is going to be run through my Type 99. And then for all of the 30-06 rifles, I'm going to be using, this is just HXP with a 62 head stamp. So for any of you guys that care about that, this is HXP Greek Surplus, and I'm going to be running this through all of the 30-06 rifles. Okay, so the first rifle I'm going to do today is my 1903A3. The thing that's nice about both of the 1903s is the front sight is very, very skinny. So hopefully that'll help me, get in the same nice fine sight picture. But let's go ahead and shoot and see what happens. So the next rifle up is the Springfield 1903. This is an earlier version, so that means it has the ledge sight with the little V-notch. This is the only rifle I'm going to be shooting today that doesn't have an aperture, like a circle aperture in the back. So we'll see how that goes. The one thing that's nice about this rifle, it has a very clean, light trigger. So let's see how it goes. So next up is the Japanese Type 99 rifle. I've always really liked the Arisaka sights. Now, the front sight just comes to a nice fine, it's like a little triangle, and to me, it almost looks like, this might sound kind of far-fetched, but if you like look through an ACOG with a chevron, to me, the front sight on this looks just like a little chevron pretty much. So I've always liked the sights on this. The trigger is very average. Let's see what happens. Alright, so the next rifle is my M1 Garand. This is a Harrington and Richardson barrel that was made in 1954, and it is a Harrington and Richardson receiver. Let's go ahead and try this one to see what happens. So now we're going to try the Moss 36. If I had to guess out of all these rifles, I would guess this one. I'm going to shoot this one the worst. That being said, this trigger is probably the worst trigger I've ever fired on a firearm ever. And definitely the worst out of all of these. And the front sight is the largest out of all of these. So kind of combine those and I don't know. We'll see. Could surprise me, but let's try it. So the next rifle up is the Brownell's A1. This just has traditional M16 sights and a mil-spec trigger. There's really nothing fancy about this one, but I figured I'd bring it out today and try the test with it, so let's see how it goes. Okay, so last but certainly not least, one of my personal favorite rifles ever. This is a model of 1917. This one happens to be an Eddystone, and I believe it is the original barrel. The sights on this, kind of traditional, kind of like an M16 or an M1 Garand, something like that. Circle aperture with one single post in the front. Now it does have these big wings that protect the front sight, but that's not, it's part of your sight picture, but that's not really what you're lining up. The trigger on this is okay. It's nothing to write home about, but let's see how the 1917 does. Alright, so I'm done shooting at the 50-yard range. Got some pretty interesting results. Two things I failed to mention on all of the rifles. I did not flip up any sights. It was all the battle sights. So yeah, the Mark 1, I didn't take it and like finely tune it or anything. It was whatever was there. So, and also I failed to mention, I was always holding at the black dot for every single rifle, always holding here. So since I have this, let's talk about the 1903. This is the A3. So what I did was I just measured center to center, and I just have a little tape measure. I'm not doing this super scientifically, but so it was 2 1/4 inches at 50 yards, and that's from the farthest the farthest 2 shots away. So 1903 A3, 2 1/4. So again, holding here. Take that with what you will. So next up was the Moss 36, and I was actually very surprised at this rifle. I think this is the best group I shot today. And I originally said I thought that was going to be the worst. So I had 1.5 inches at 50 yards I was holding here. And you can see it's pretty nice and centered. The thing with the Moss 36 is there is a windage elevation, but it's kind of a pain in the butt to do. They were all zeroed at the factory, and like you have to put a different leaf sight in the back for it to move left and right. There's absolutely no windage adjustment for just the average Joe. But that was 1.5 inches at 50 yards. And like I said, the sight was the largest. The front sight was the largest. And the trigger is absolutely the worst. So kind of surprising results there with the Moss 36. But I got 1.5 inches. Okay, so next we have the Type 99. Overall, my group was 2 3/4 inches at 50 yards. And just for giggles, I measured the width from farthest shot width. It was 1 3/8 inches. I know that doesn't count, it's overall, but I just wanted to look at it. Typically, when you're stringing up and down, it's due to your breathing, and then again, that's typically not necessarily all the time. And then when you're stringing right to left, it's usually because you're kind of squirming behind the rifle. You might not have the best natural point of aim, and you just might not feel comfortable behind the rifle, so that's something to keep in mind. So there's the Type 99 group. Okay, so next up we had the M1. It was 1 7/8 inches at 50 yards. Not a bad group. Again, I'm kind of stringing left to right on that one. Maybe not a lot, but still, I could definitely shoot it better than that. But you guys know that I don't do multiple takes. What I get is what you guys see. I don't edit anything. So just keep that in mind. This is the first group I got. So there it is. That's with the M1. Okay, so next up was the 1903 Mark I. And like I said earlier, I'm always holding here at the black dot. You can see how high that thing hits. It was just at 2.5 inches at 50 yards. And then it was barely over 1 inch wide. Again, I measured the width just because. And that was just over 1 inch wide. So that's the 1903 Mark I target. So next up was the 1917. And I had to look at my footage twice because of this. I don't know how, but it looked like there was only 4 because I knew that was 2 rounds. That was 1 and that was 1. But upon looking at the footage, this is actually 2 rounds, and that's almost the exact same hole, which is pretty cool. So M1917 at 50 yards was 1 9/16 inches. So that's the M1917. Okay, so finally this is the Brownells A1 build. This is 2 1/4 inches, and this is at 50 yards. So not too bad. I know I can shoot this rifle better than this, but that was the last rifle I shot in the sequence. So going from these and then shooting that, it was just super light recoil wise. So I was just shooting a lot faster than I should have. But like I said earlier, that is what it is. I'm not going to take a second group just so you guys can see the honest results. But 2 1/4 inches there. So I have all the targets placed in order here from best to worst. And again, this is at 50. To my surprise, I don't really know how that happened, but first place was the Moss 36, followed by the M1917. Third place was the M1. Fourth was the 1903 A3. These two groups were almost nearly identical, so those are kind of tied for fourth. 1903 Mark I was in last. I'm sorry, in sixth. And then the last was the Type 99. So, again, Moss, 1917, M1, 1903 A3, A1. So if you look at those two groups together, .1903 Mark I, and then finally Type 99. Alright everyone, so unfortunately I'm not going to be able to do the 100-yard shooting today. It's very cold out here, and my phone and my external battery that's been powering my phone are almost dead. Both of them are almost dead. So there's no way I'm going to be able to get that footage done. So sometime in the future, maybe hopefully this summer or sometime soon when no one's here at the range, I'm going to do this same thing at 100 yards. So unfortunately it's not going to be able to be in this video, but I will make it happen. So be sure you stick around and stay tuned for that video if you liked this one. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you.